And we're live with, I'm here today joined by my good friend and open source collaborator and Magento community superstar, Laura Folco, hailing from New York City. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are things with you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just, I got these new headphones, so I'm kind of geeking out on them. I got them yesterday. My buddy recommended them, so I'm like,
nice,
you know, when you get something,
profile.
they're not too big. They're actually like they squeeze down pretty tight. They like fold and stuff, so they're pretty cool. Nice. But you know, when you get a new like toy and you're just like using it, I was like wearing them all day long, all night long, and like I couldn't hear my kids or anything. It's like children are like dying, and I'm like, I can't hear anything. I'm listening to my podcast.
Nice.
So they're kind of cool. So cool setup you got there. That's your New York apartment.
Yeah. There's usually a cat back here. I don't know what the hell is going on. There's
yeah,
legendary Pepe.
The legendary Pepe.
Yeah, he's blown me off. Man.
Is he gonna make a cameo at some point here?
He'll probably walk right in front of the screen. You know, stand on the keyboard like he does.
That'll be good.
Like when I'm doing production releases and stuff like that.
Yeah. Have him give him a button he can click to do deploys.
Absolutely.
You're like a huge cat person too, right? You're like a.
I am. I often get asked how many cats I have, and I'm like, just the one.
Yep.
Just the one, you know. But
and you're being honest
I'm
about
a cat aficionado, if you will.
Yeah. You don't have like a room full of like 9 cats that you're just hiding.
No, that's my dream. No, there's a 3-cat maximum in my building.
Is there really?
Limiting. Yeah, that and no washer and dryer. So these were decisions I had to make when I bought this apartment.
Because getting a New York apartment is like a big deal, right? Like it's
it
complicated.
Is. It's like, it's ugly. Oh God. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
Dealing with the prices, for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
and you're on the board?
What's that? I'm on the co-op board.
You're on the co-op board? Yeah.
So I get to interview potential applicants and find out just how much they like cats.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're a right fit for the building.
Totally. So, so you're out in New York City, and you've been in the Magento community there for a while. We've got Meet Magento New York coming up in a little bit. You've been to that a time or two.
Yep.
How did you? How did you like that? Did you like the scene?
I liked it a lot, actually. I think there's been 2. I went to the first one, or is it 3?
I'm not sure. I want to say.
I think there's been 3. Yeah, actually, there's been 3. I went to the first one, and that was sort of my entry into meeting people in the Magento community. I was sort of just working on it on my own and using Stack Exchange like everybody else. And then Kimberly Thomas reached out, and I got to know her, and she was managing the processor, helping organize the event. And ended up going to that. That's where I found your socks, the Mage Mail socks.
Yes. I'm actually rocking mine today.
Oh, shit, I should have put mine on.
Oh, there you can barely see them.
It's a bit warm for socks. We're out of sock weather here. It's like, it goes from like, 32 degrees to 85 within a weekend here in New York.
Is it super humid out there yet?
I don't know. I haven't been out for a bit.
I haven't been out for 6 days, so I'm really not. I'm really not sure. I couldn't tell you.
I'm on the 5th floor. It's a pain in the neck to get down there.
Yeah.
Needs it. I gotta wait for the elevator.
These kids and their Instagrams and their real world life and everything. It's all.
Yeah, I have no time for that.
Yeah.
I'm over that. I've done that.
So, so I remember first seeing your stuff you did. I really loved the promo codes, error messages stuff that you did. And
that was actually Meet Magento New York Hackathon.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a simple thing, but it's something that I've needed for a while. And so, and now you've done several hackathons now, because you were at the Imagine Hackathon. You've done how many hackathons have you done now?
It's like 4 or 5. Usually what I do, like the promo code came from, I've had several clients say, can you give me something a little more specific than that code doesn't work?
Yeah, it's horrible.
And so like a lot of my hackathon ideas come out of client requests. Although last year, not this past year, but the year before, everybody was doing Magento 2. And I'm like, I'm going to sit at the table that sets up the dev environment.
Right.
So that was the one to create the Docker environment. I was like, I basically wrote a Vagrant script over the 2 days for that and managed to get it running. And I still use it now. But yeah, that was definitely not my most productive hackathon compared to previous years.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. I was looking at Christoph's presentation on using Composer and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I was at that one. That was good.
And I haven't done. I mean, I did a little Magento 2 stuff like for a while ago, but I am so out of the loop. It's embarrassing.
It's like I haven't done client work. I've basically been studying on my own, and the one thing is like you take a couple of months off from that, forget it. You feel like you have to start all over again. It's just like there's just so much.
Yep.
And it clashes. Like when I try to switch back and forth between Magento 1 and 2, it's sort of like, mage get model. It's like, I wake up in the middle of the night, mage get model. It's like all that. The God class is just that.
Where's my God class?
Yeah, my helpers, like my data helper where I put all the crap that really doesn't belong anywhere else. So you really have to think more about architecture with Magento 2, I think, or at least me personally with it. It's kind of
What do you so what are the type, because you well, what we're going to talk about here that we're going to get into is we're going to talk about hiring your first subcontractor and that kind of a thing, but you're a freelancer and starting to become an agency. I'll throw that out there. No. Laura Folco Enterprises.
Take it down a little bit here. Enterprises.
But what like, because I'm curious about this question of like, when is M2 ready? And it's like the future is unevenly distributed type of thing, where for certain types of merchants, M2 makes sense right now. For other types, it's not going to make sense for a little while. But what types of clients do you work with in terms of, I don't know, the type, the size, whatever, and what's that decision look like? M1 versus M2 versus other platforms or whatever, from where where you stand, from your perch.
I tend to be the sole developer for a merchant. So obviously they can't be very big. Otherwise they would need more people or in-house staff. It's kind of like where I fit in is, a merchant goes to an agency, they have them build their site, and then they have a retainer with them for a certain amount of time. And they find that they need a little more care and feeding that an agency may provide for the amount of money that they're giving the agency. So that's sort of where I kind of slide in there, is like that, take a merchant from that to potentially maybe having their first in-house developer. And then once they start hiring in-house, I'm like,
peace.
Yeah. That's the last thing I need is like, when do you come in the office for a few days? That's like the words I dread.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'd like to have you in 3 days a week, which I did for a number of years.
Yeah.
And, it was nice. It was nice being around people and stuff, but it was like, I did really
people can be nice from time to time.
People can be nice sometimes. Not always.
Yeah.
But,
so for the size of merchant that you work with, I don't know, can you give like a revenue range roughly? I mean, we don't want to get anything crazy, but if not, that's fine. But like for those merchants, what is the M1 versus M2? What does the M2 thing look like right now? Like, what are they thinking? What kind of questions are they asking? When are they thinking about dipping into it?
It's none of my current clients are really thinking about it. My biggest client has a really, really, really customized site. I mean, it's like there's a lot of moving pieces there. And it's definitely on his radar, a redesign and a replatform. But it's not something that we've really discussed specifics about. Another client is on enterprise, and he's like, we'll just wait till they kick me off of enterprise, and then we'll go from there. So I'm thinking.
I think that's what a lot of people are going to do.
Kind of, yeah. You know, his site isn't overly complicated either. It's not, there's not a ton of customization. And so I think that could be a really good candidate to make a transition project from M1 to M2. I mean, and this is like, and it comes back to the subcontractor. This is where having extra helpers. I mean, if he wants to do a redesign, I'm not equipped to actually, you know, break out the Photoshop and start, you know, hey, why does it look like this? So I would have to work with potentially a bunch of other freelancers would be ideal. But that's the thing. It's like as a single developer, I'm not really equipped to take any of my clients from Magento 1 to 2 by myself. That's too big of a project.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've thought about ways to do it. You know, like having a subcontractor helps. I've thought about trying to find an agency that could come in where to help do a lot of the heavy lifting, and then I would still be managing the project. And then whenever the transition is done, go back to the way things are now, where I'm just doing day-to-day management. Because I tend to take on clients for years, so I don't really do project-based work. In fact, it's been 10 years since I've had my first freelance client. We're still working together. That's a straight PHP site. When they need a homepage update, I break out index.php. It's a nonprofit, you know, so it's, you know, they're not really like doing cutting edge things.
Yeah, sure. No, that's really cool. And so, but as a developer, you're starting to dip into M2 a little bit. You want to get ready for it. Is still the bulk of your actual day to day is M1. Yeah. But you feel like it's important to start ramping up on it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of developers, I know I have all Magento clients in one Laravel client, and that is not even a regular. I haven't touched that project in 3 months. In fact, I'm gonna have to relearn Laravel next request I get for that. So, you know, I've for better or for worse, I've, you know, planted my flag on the Magento hill. So I need to make sure that whenever clients like mine are ready to move off of agencies into a developer, then I'm ready to actually do it. You know, I can't start learning Magento whenever I start getting work for Magento. I mean, Magento 2, when I start getting work for it, I need to actually know it ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I've done the trainings, and you know, they offered free Magento U online training for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I've always been a pretty heavy consumer of Magento U.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking just working on some open source stuff, maybe the promo code module, moving that into Magento 2 is sort of like a test run.
Yeah. That seems like a perfect.
Keeping the skill set fresh until clients are ready for it.
Does Magento 2 Core have the same issue with promo code error messages? Because I would love to believe that maybe they
No, I think it is the same.
Okay.
Actually. Okay. Josh Warren did a how to convert a module from Magento 1 to 2 presentation at Imagine last year. And he picked that module. I was like, damn, I was going to do that. I'm not sure like if they continued working with it. It was meant sort of like a proof of concept, because there's converters that Magento provides.
Right.
But as far as I know, it's just your promo code doesn't work is all you're getting.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, cool. So, what I wanted to dig into was this whole, you know, you recently said, hey, I want to hire my first subcontractor, and so we did that through Commerce Hero. You can say the good, bad, and the ugly about. You don't have to toe the company line, but you know, it'd be interesting to talk about what that looked like, and also like. Because there's sort of multiple facets of it. There's, you know, how do you introduce this to there's a lot of people that work as freelancers, and how do you introduce this to your clients? How do you position it?
Sure.
Bill for it? How do you add margin for it? How do you know, communicate with them? All sorts of things. So I thought it'd be an interesting topic to talk with somebody that's done that, just freshly done that, and can speak to some of the issues there, some of the, you know, challenges, some of the friction. So I have a few questions lined up here, and or you can jump off on any topics. But what were some of the challenges you faced when you were kind of considering like hiring a subcontractor?
Well, it wasn't my idea, actually. It was my client's. So I've been with him for about 3 years, and it's a very fluid relationship. You know, there's a lot of trust there. I don't really give him estimates. He assigns me tickets in GitHub, and I work on things, and just, you know, he prioritizes them, and then I deliver them as they go. And like any good ticketing system, there's a priority label 1 through 4. So priority 1 means stop what you're doing, work on this. So not many tickets get a priority 1. You know, that's like, but something bad is happening type of thing. So most of them end up in priority 2, 3, and 4. And what was happening was priority 2 was getting done. Some of 3, 4, never even going to happen. You know, like if it was assigned P4, that was like, why don't we just like close this ticket right now? Because it's never going to happen. There's never enough time. And pretty much everywhere I've worked, there is that same kind of prioritization where you kind of realize we would call it nice to have.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that would be really nice to have, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
there's
and other
nothing
things
worse.
get moved up to P2 from P3.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing worse than just staring at a huge list of things that are not that important, and you've stared at them like 6 times and prioritized them. You know, it's like
well, you know what? Though, as a freelancer, there's nothing better than a nice long issue list, because it means there's plenty of work. You know, it's like when you're out, you know, like when a side hustle is your full-time hustle, you know, the last thing you want is an issue list with 6 things on it, because it's like, crap, I'm going to finish this by Thursday, and then it's like, I'm not getting any work from that guy until something else pops up. So a nice healthy issue list is good, but you don't want it to turn into a massive technical debt. So my client was like, maybe we should bring on another developer. And I was like, oh man, because I actually hate change.
Right.
And, you know, I was like, I like my system. You know, I don't have to worry about stepping on other people's toes. You know, I have a Git branching strategy, but it's only for my personal edification. You know, it's like I could really just do everything in master and it probably wouldn't matter. But, you know, it's like, so after, you know, a couple of days of angst, I was like, all right, how can I position this to be something I don't hate?
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought in the past about the fact that, you know, I have certain strengths and weaknesses as a developer, like anybody. My strengths are back-end development, when my weakness for sure is front-end. And a lot of those tickets that were front-end were like taking me longer than they should have. Sometimes I would just stop billing because I'm like, good Lord, I can't even like make somebody pay for me struggling how to use jQuery.
Yeah.
So I figured, all right, maybe because when he first proposed the idea, he said, you know, I want you to be comfortable with this however you want to do this. So I was like, how about I bring this person on, I pay them, I vet them, and that sort of thing. And so you would still be dealing with me directly, and I'll manage them. So I wanted to find somebody that's decent at front end in order to match. Because, you know, I don't want somebody that's like super junior.
Yeah.
Because then you spend all your time managing, you know, it's, you know, finding a certified developer was important.
Yeah.
And finding somebody that's comfortable with, you know, a lot of the front end that I just am not comfortable with was also important. So I figured out, all right, this will be a good thing. And then if he's working for me directly rather than my client, that means I can use him for other things, other projects and that sort of thing. So that's how that came about. And, you know, it's been challenging, but worth it.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I mean, it's a really good problem to have. A lot of times it's the other direction where you want to start subcontracting and the client's not super comfortable with it, and you got to kind of sell them on it. You came at that the other direction. They said, we love you so much. We trust you to find someone else, and more stuff to get done.
You know, it's definitely, as a freelancer, bringing on a subcontractor, it's a lot different than an agency. Like, as when a merchant hires an agency, they're hiring the agency. Like, they don't know what the developers are paid.
Yep.
They don't, you know, it never even comes up. You know, it's like, I'm paying the agency such and such an amount. And they may have a contact at that agency they deal with, but it's understood that there's a whole bunch of other people doing things. But whenever you're a freelancer, it's a one-to-one relationship. So it can definitely, bringing on a subcontractor can definitely be a challenge to portray it as a good thing to a client, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Unless they're the one telling you to do it. Then
Absolutely.
that is
And it's
not
like,
something.
all right, you know, I mean, the fact is, it's like his business is growing and I need to be able to grow with it. So what's the
Nice.
best way for me to continue? Because he's a really great client, and it's been instrumental in allowing me to stay working at home, not having to come on into the office 3 days a week, that sort of thing.
Right.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
do what I can to continue this relationship, you know?
Yeah. Now, so the one client said, "Hey, I want you to do this," and then you said, "Well, another nice thing is I could if they're working for me, I can have them work on other projects." So with your other clients, did you present the idea to them and say, "Hey, by the way, I can start to pick up a little extra work," or did you just say, "Hey, I'll do it with the one client for now and see how it goes"?
I'm sticking with the one for now. You know, I'm on my second subcontractor, and the only reason the first one didn't work out is he didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
And because I liked everything else about him, and his code was clean. He didn't use tabs, which is aces.
Yeah.
And you know, it was like, you know, I definitely was happy, but he didn't have enough time, so he didn't have the bandwidth at all.
Yeah.
So he recommended his replacement, and actually they worked together, and he showed him what was going on and how things worked. So it really turned out,
Yeah.
it was almost like seamless for me. It
That's
was
cool.
really kind of nice.
Yeah.
It was a good process, and I'm still friendly with the original guy. It was no, you know, bad feelings, at least I'm aware of.
No, that's great. And
Maybe he
I
hates my
think
guts.
no, I think you're right that he, was had some other things. And that is one of the risks with hiring a freelancer in general or a subcontractor
Yeah,
freelancer is that their availability may vary. Sometimes quality varies, and that's a much bigger problem than just availability varying. Sometimes I
yeah,
see that, and we got to like crack the whip a little bit. Um, when they're really super professional, it doesn't. Like, for you, I'm sure your quality never, like you said, if you're not if comfortable billing for something, you don't bill for it.
yeah.
And that's always a sign of somebody that's super pro. But yeah, I think it can go a lot worse than that. Like you could have somebody that you're constantly micromanaging and you're constantly
Yeah.
having to worry about, redo their work and stuff. So
No, I was looking for somebody that set it and forget it a little bit. And that's
yeah.
actually a challenge because I'm realizing, I'm like, oh crap, this guy's going to be done with his project on Thursday, and I got to have stuff for him to do. You
Yeah.
know, like it's kind of like there's not a lot of, for good or for bad, there's not a lot of like three month out planning going on with any of
Mm-hmm.
my clients. It's like tickets come in, they prioritize, I work on them as they're according to their priority, and then we move on to the next one, whatever.
Yep. Keep
So
it lean.
yeah. But with
Yep.
a subcontractor, you know, especially somebody that doesn't know the system, there's a lot of pre-planning involved in order to get them ready to work on the next ticket.
Yeah.
So, you
What's
know,
that looking like? How are you structuring your project management system to package up tickets? Are you reviewing stuff that comes from the client, adding an extra level of detail, or can you just pass tickets straight through? Are they communicating directly with the client? Are you kind of middlemaning that? How's that whole flow
but
working out?
right now I'm kind of middlemaning it a bit. I'm sort of feeling my way with it. There's I'm using GitHub for issues, and then there's GitHub projects. They have that thing where you can add the cards and stuff.
Right.
So I'm using that to sort of queue up what he's going to be working on next to give him an idea. And then what I've been doing is just writing up some background for each ticket and then emailing that, because my client is also on GitHub, and there's a lot of communication between me and my subcontractor that doesn't really like involve, you know, like, well, the table structure should be like this, or, you know, that kind of thing.
Because
My client doesn't really need to know how we're structuring the database for this project or whatever. And I'm also very hands-on when it comes to stuff like that in the beginning. Like, you know, years ago, I worked with a guy that misspelled a table name on our database.
Yeah.
And this was like an Oracle database on some like massive Java enterprise system. And every damn time you had to remember to misspell invoice or whatever it was. And it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So ever since, like, nobody gets an install script onto production without me looking at it and making sure, it's like, so I tend to be kind of hands-on when it comes to the initial design. And I think that will change once I feel more comfortable, we get a little more time together, that sort of thing. Let them just run with it going forward. But I'll write out a spec document in Google Docs and be like, these are the main models you should look at for this. And plus, since it's kind of a complicated site, there's a lot of like moving pieces. So
yeah,
just pointing them like, you can find these files in this extension, this directory, or that sort of thing. Definitely will save him some time.
Right. So the client uses GitHub, right?
Yeah, I have all my clients on GitHub.
You have your clients on check. I like this.
It's like, you know what? You need a ticket.
Yep.
I had a client that said, hey, I have 10-year anniversary sweatshirts. So he opened a ticket in GitHub saying, I have these sweatshirts. Do you want one? I was like, all right.
Oh my God.
I don't know if it's like the fear of God. He's just like, all right, I'll use the GitHub. It's like, all right. So he opened a ticket. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. I closed it when I received it.
This is when you have your clients on check. They want to send you a holiday card, so they do it over GitHub.
I know. But the thing is, it's like, I've had clients that sort of say, can I just send you an email?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you know what? If this were my full-time job, even then it would still be, an email is going to get lost. There's just I need a dashboard to be able to figure out what I'm supposed to be working on. I can't be sorting through email. You may have had some experience with that particular client in our Magento days.
Ah, yes.
Yes. So the email threads from hell were like 3 people, and you've got like a 30 email thread going on. And it's just like, I'd always be like, they'd be like, can you do this? And be like, open a ticket. And I'm not trying to blow you off when I say open a ticket. It's like, I'm trying to keep me from blowing it off, because if it's in my inbox, I am a 0 inbox person. I never have unread email.
Ah, very nice.
It's more of like that little red badge just drives me nuts. I can't stand to see that little circle.
You are one of the most responsive emailers that I know. You're top 3.
Oh, awesome.
You're pretty
intense. No, I don't like to let things sit. I had a bad experience when I first started freelancing, where I was kind of fast and loose about like, I've been freelancing for 10 years. This month, actually, will be my 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations. I believe a golf clap is in order.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, should I talk quietly now?
Congratulations on the 10-year anniversary.
So no, I was sort of like, I have a tendency to just sort of go off in my own world and work on my stuff. And I let communication just like completely fall by the wayside. And the client, it didn't work out. And it really left me like, holy crap, that was a bad experience. And I totally screwed up on that one.
Yeah.
So now it's like, I just don't want to ever have that experience again. So keeping up in communication keeps me from having to have those really uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, right. So clients are on GitHub, they pop the tickets in, and then you'll spec out additional detail kind of separately.
Yeah.
Does GitHub have private comments? Can you put like a private note in a?
I'm not sure. It's funny when my client and I are going back and forth, everything is spec'd in the ticket.
Yeah.
And he's great. He mocks up admin interfaces. Like, it's just like, so I know exactly what I'm doing sometimes with these projects.
Yeah.
And, but like I said, I want to have the architecture discussion sort of offline. And so I've been using Google Docs. So that way, at least it's all somewhere. Yeah. It's not an email, which I really hate. I'll send an email and be like, there's a Google Doc with a spec document, and take a look, make comments. And then there's some sort of online record of the collaboration, because it's good to know, like, why did we do it this way?
Yeah.
And then you can look back and be like, oh, that's why, you know?
Yeah. 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 So you spec it out. You don't want the client, you know, to get mixed up in all that level of
Yeah.
detail. And then in terms of figuring out how to bill for that, you know, because as a developer, you always feel like, oh man, now am I going to bill for this time I'm spending explaining something? And
Yeah.
am I going to bill the same rate? And how do I discuss that with the client? Do I, open the kimono, explain the whole thing? Do I keep
Yeah.
it simple for them? How did you approach that?
Well, you know what? Since my client originated the idea, I was 100% transparent with the
Yep.
billing practices and how it's going to work. And we came to a mutually beneficial agreement with that. And, you know, I've thought about how I honestly don't know how I would handle it with new clients. I've been told everything from just bill straight for their whatever their hourly rate is. Other people have told me like, no, you should bill your rate. And I'm not sure. It's like, I'm kind of holding off on that decision. I'm probably going to do a little more ground research type of thing
Yeah.
and to find out, because again, it comes back to, I'm a freelancer, not an agency.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whenever I start working with a client, like they're working with me. Whereas when you're working with an agency, you're working with the agency. So no matter who is underneath that umbrella, you know, there's always, you assume there's going to be a markup, but you don't ask what they're paying their developers, for example.
Right.
So, but if I bring on a subcontractor with a client, I think it's in their rights to ask, you know, when you bill me, whose work are you billing? And honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, like I said, I was very transparent with this one. There's no secret markup going on there or anything that's like he doesn't know about. It's all above board.
Yeah.
And,
No,
it's much better that way, because I think I'd feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm not destined to be an agency. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's sort of like.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like you're a craftsman, a crafts lady, and you care a lot about your craft, and taking that jump to being. It's funny. I remember back in my pre-Magento days, I did freelance stuff. Had this client, they absolutely loved me. We had the best relationship, kind of like what you're describing. So much trust. Whatever I build, and then I started subcontracting, and I got into it not nearly as carefully as you have, put it that way. And and it's not like I was doing anything shady or anything. It's just I was starting to hire people, and I felt relatively good about them. But how well were they vetted? And then immediately the relationship changed, because they're like, why are you billing me for this time? And da 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 da. So yeah, there's definitely something there when they hire you as a freelancer.
Yeah.
And you change it up on them. I think being transparent is really cool. And if you want to have a markup on the hours, you discuss that. People understand that in business there's markups, there's there's markups on things. So
yeah, it's definitely like I said, it's almost like when you hire a freelancer, you're hiring a person. So like if I get a job somewhere and I decide to swap out my sister on Tuesdays because I can't make it, that's not going to fly. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I do have a sister. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And a brother.
Oh, nice. I don't know.
And a missing cat. Where is that stupid animal?
Where is Pepe? Pepe.
Oh, right?
How do you call Pepe? Do you give him a clap? How do you?
I usually yell tuna, but I don't have any tuna on me right now, so I don't want to.
You don't want to
mess up the algorithm there.
You don't want to mismanage expectations there.
Exactly.
So that's interesting. The whole figuring out how to handle billing, how to handle project management and specifying things. And then it sounds like things worked out well in terms of the quality. How are you handling like code review? Do you have probably doing GitHub pull requests and doing some code review?
And I go in and I look at stuff, it's like check-ins. So I did that actually an hour ago. I was like, ooh, database install scripts. I'm going to take a look at these.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there a couple times with the previous fellow was, I make comments in GitHub, just pull up the code and like you can put a little note and whatever. There haven't been really formal code reviews,
Sure.
Really, it's just been me looking at it and just making comments here and there. You know,
Yeah.
there's a big project. We're doing a MailChimp migration to the new MailChimp extension.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like probably the biggest thing that we'll be putting out, that I haven't done all of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely nervous about that. Like I had a freelance job where I sent out a test email to their entire subscription list.
Everybody has done that. Literally everybody that
and I
has
was
touched
in their
email
office when I did it. Everyone's like, what's this large test email? And I was like, oh. And it was an email company. It was a company that sent newsletters. So they had this massive list.
Oh my God.
So if anyone listening, this was like in 2008. So everybody can relax. I'm much more professional now. But you know, anything that touches outside people is kind of scary. You know, all I have these scripts to load up a Vagrant instance for each client, and they all anonymize everything. So like if you run this script to build your Vagrant box, you will never have any fear of like touching a customer in real life, emailing them or doing anything. So because that's really important. The last thing you want to do, like customers should not know about developers, basically, for most of the type of merchants. You know, I mean, these are e-commerce stores. So they shouldn't. So there should never be a large test email.
That would be
like, why don't I use a fake name at least in the future?
There you go. Yeah, blame it on somebody. Call it Sergey's test email or something like that. Blame it on the Russian hackers. That's no, actually that might be a fun, totally separate topic, is to talk about your Vagrant thing, because I know like a lot of people have tried that, and everybody talks about Vagrant setups, but I think it's a nightmare for a lot of people and a huge time sink. So having a really nice, clean setup is it might be cool to.
Well, you know, it's part of it is I switch machines a lot because I go away on the weekends a lot. So I bring my laptop.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to replicate as close to production as possible. So whenever I moved my one client to Magento, they have like CentOS 6, but a different version of Apache. I mean, that was a nightmare Vagrant build. And Eric actually sent me some build scripts that they used to build Apache, because I was like, you know, my DevOps skills are okay, but they're not like building my own version of Apache level. But the thing is, it's like, so that same script I was able to give to the guy, the subcontractor, and it's like fab Vagrant build, and 20 minutes later, because it does take a while, you know, you load up the database and you have the whole site on your Vagrant box, which is nice.
It's a beauty.
Yeah. So whenever like your hard drive goes, you don't have to worry about losing anything.
Yep. Actually, it'd be cool. They should Magento should offer. I bet they already do this, but they should talk about it more. Like for like their partners, like you that have referred multiple clients, they should offer to set up, like help you set up your Vagrant file for like anything. That'd be kind of
cool. You know, it's like, because it is.
Because I'm sure it's easy for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I've gone into trouble. The old like works on my machine. Everybody's heard that. I used to work with a guy that was like, we know it works on your machine. And the funny thing is, this was back when we had actual, you know, our own server in the closet that was replicated just like the main production server. So it was an actual copy of what production. But, you know, environment issues for sure. It's just like, you know, I never work on my Mac directly because there's never going to be an OS 10 production server out there, you know. So it's issues like even like case sensitivity. You know, I've had things go south whenever I put them on a staging server because of case sensitivity. You know, like if you rename something in Git with just changing the case and you rename it back or whatever, like things go to hell. You have to like rename it to something entirely and then name it to however. If you want to just change the case, I discovered that painfully a couple of years ago.
The hard way. I did too. Cool. So boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. We've talked through a number of I'm just looking at my list of questions here. Talked about positioning to the client, tools. Time zones. So you work with some folks out in Latvia,
Yes,
which, my goodness, there are some pros out that way.
absolutely.
And so how did you deal with that? Did you make yourself available crazy times? Did you have them work with you within your time zone? Well, how did that work out for you?
Well, there's been mostly on their part, they've done a lot of overlap. It's, like I start my day maybe about 9, something like that. And they're 7 hours ahead of me. So, and a lot of times they're working at night because, they're not full-time freelancers.
Right.
They have other work that they're doing. So I think a lot of times overseas, I think a lot of the developers there are aware that they shift their hours to accommodate US companies a lot of times.
Yep.
It's like it's going to make them stand out from the pack. But also at the same time, I'm not a micromanager. I'm a macro manager. I mean, like sometimes I was like, "Holy crap, what's he been doing all week?" And it's just like I haven't even like paid attention. Sometimes I have to remember to kind of like I'm not somebody that's gonna, require a lot of communication. Basically, It's like they have questions. I look at check-ins on GitHub. I keep an eye on the hours just to see where we're at and that sort of thing. And it's so far worked pretty well in that sense. So the time difference isn't too bad. And also the projects they're working on are not time sensitive projects either. So like the MailChimp upgrade, we were on a really old version of MageMonkey, like really old.
Yeah.
And it has changed massively. So like a couple years ago, there was a ticket upgrade MageMonkey, and
Priority 4.
No, it was like a P2, man. I went down the rabbit hole on this. I'm like, my use cases were not passing, and it was just like back and forth and back and forth. And it was like, let's just cut bait on this. But now they're shutting off their API, or they upgraded their API, and you have to switch basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I thought this is a perfect project to give to the subcontractor because it's sort of embedded in our system quite a bit, but it's new. You're replacing one extension with another.
Yeah.
B, I really don't want to deal with it because I hate testing this kind of stuff. Like many Magento 1 developers, there's a lot of manual testing involved. And it was a big enough project to it wasn't like, I don't want to hire a subcontractor and give them a ticket that's going to take them 3 hours and be like, all right, what next? It's like, this is something that take a little time to kind of get them deep into the system a little bit, have an idea of how things work. Now, at the same time, since it is very customer facing, I'm going to be very hands-on with the release of it. I'll be glad to see the end of it though, this particular project, because it's just like I said, I get very nervous about any release that has the potential to touch customers that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like them getting an email would be the worst thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And in terms of communication and meetings, did you try to get them to check in daily on chat? Did you have a weekly check-in?
No,
just ad hoc
we have Skype, and it's basically ticket-based questions. I'm really a big fan of letting developers like myself, I'm treating him the way I would like to be treated as a developer, and it's kind of
totally.
So far, I don't think that's a problem. I would hope he would speak up if that is the case. And actually, it reminds me, I probably should check in to ensure that he doesn't need more direction. But he's very good.
Actually,
so far, and I'm very happy.
We have him on the line here for some live.
Oh, do you now?
No, I'm just kidding. He has a few bones to pick. No, that's really cool. That's really cool. It's on the one hand, they can tackle some tasks that maybe you're not as strong in, or you prefer not to dip into. But on the other hand, you want to treat them the same way you'd want to be treated.
Yeah, I mean, I assigned him all the front end tickets.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing that works out best for everybody, because it's it's going to be cheaper for my client, because even it's going to take me longer to do front end than it does to do back end. So
yeah,
it's definitely better to farm that out if at all possible. And
have you? Yeah. Nope. Sorry, I just stepped
go
in.
on.
Have you calculated at all how much additional time you're spending on the overhead management? I mean, maybe really roughly, like say, well, maybe 20%, or have you looked at how much overhead
I
there is
haven't
there?
actually. You know, it was like I said, I'm on my second subcontractor. The first one wasn't able to put in enough time, so I didn't spend a lot of time. And you know what? I probably let that go longer than it should have because I really liked them.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, oh man, I like working with this guy because it's
Yeah.
like, crap, now I got to do this again. And like I said, he recommended his own replacement.
I was impressed by that. Not everybody
Yeah.
does that.
You know, he was really stand up about it because I was like, listen, I need to get more hours from you at this point. And he was the one that said, well, you know what, if I can't pick it up, then I have somebody in mind, if you'd be interested, who could take over
Yeah.
for me. And I was like, that's perfect. That means I don't have to go and vet. I mean, of course I had to vet to some degree, but you know, it's kind of funny. I honestly did not think too hard about code quality in the sense that like, I figure that'll come out once I look at a couple check-ins, you know.
Yep.
It'll definitely come out whether this person's any good or not. And I think that anybody that's gone through the certification exam has to know Magento to some degree. I mean, I took that exam and it's like, it's kind of brutal to some degree.
Yep.
How in the details that thing gets.
Yep.
So anyone that has passed that exam has definitely looked at all of the major components of Magento. You know, they might be stronger than others. You know, I use Magento to generate admin grids. I can't do admin grids on my own anymore. It's just like, you know, I almost don't remember much from the certification about admin grids. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses there.
Yeah.
But anyone that passed that exam is definitely going to understand how things work, I think.
Do they use PHP Storm and Magento? I'm just curious. I'm not
sure about Magento. I know it uses PHP Storm. I've seen screenshots. It seems to be the standard.
When I talk to people, because sometimes, you know, I'm kind of vetting people that are, you know, overseas and stuff like that. And so when people say they don't use PHP Storm, and I know this gets into a religious war a little bit with some people, but it's like a red flag. It's like a super red flag.
You know, I have to say, you know, IDE Wars for sure. Everyone knows the guy that doesn't do he does everything in Vim.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, you know, and I admire them. Like I get onto the production server. I'm like, God, like, you know, I break into a sweat every time I have to use VI to like
colon
anything. You know, it's like, oh,
yeah.
You know,
yeah. I'm more worried.
I think what PHP Storm, what that does is it'll flag stuff like stupid mistakes. And I think that's what's really useful about it is it allows me to concentrate on higher level problems than typos.
Yeah.
You know, it's like PHP Storm will flag a typo.
Yep.
So that is like, and a typo will bring you down big time especially when you're learning something, a new language or a new platform. So it allows you to just completely abstract out the low level mistakes, I think, to a large degree. Even more so in Magento too, since there's actual XML
validation.
Validation,
yeah. I mean, it's like if you're the Vim ninjas, that's fine. I'm fine with that. It's the people that are using like Notepad++ or NetBeans.
NetBeans, I don't know. I think if you're using an IDE, I used Eclipse.
I used NetBeans back in the day. Oh, Eclipse.
I used Eclipse Zen Studio for years when I was doing Symfony.
Yeah.
And I ended up switching to PHP Storm because one of my many Magento U trainings, it was the checkout series. And I think that was it, but it was it was a webinar style. And I was like, what is this? You know, every time the instructor, it might've been Vinay, I'd be like, what is that? And so I had used the Java version IntelliJ for years back when I was doing Java development. So I was like, holy crap, they have a PHP editor? This is awesome. Because I was definitely, PHP Storm wasn't around when I first started working in PHP back in 2006.
Yeah. 1964.
Yeah, my first my first PHP project was a PHP 3.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
I think you might have me beat there. I don't even remember what my first was.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's funny the hashtag IDE Wars, but well, cool. I think we're about wrapped up at our time, but
All right.
if now are you available if there's any clients out there that are intent on using GitHub issues and fit your various
Looking
criteria?
for a developer to consume those tickets.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm kind of booked for the next few months. I have something new starting up, and I'm going to give that. I don't like to onboard more than one thing at a time because it's a new gig. Definitely takes a lot of mental bandwidth,
Yeah.
more so even in the hours. Just figuring new things out. So, but potentially in the fall,
So
time could be opening
clients
up.
out there, if you're very lucky, maybe in the fall you might be able to snatch up some hours with Laura. Well, Laura Folco, thanks again for popping on.
Sure.
How can people find you on the internet and on the socials?
Well, if you want to listen to me bitch at Time Warner Cable, you can find me on Twitter.
That sounds like a good time. That sounds like a general good
There's at least
time.
one rant a month. I can't promise, I can't promise more, but who knows? Or Spectrum, whatever they're called. So yeah, L Folco for Twitter. Facebook, I keep kind of private. So,
Cool. Friends and family.
And then there's the ubiquitous LinkedIn. So
Yep. Cool. Well, thanks again. And I really appreciate the feedback on, this whole process. I think there's probably some people out there that'll get a lot of good insights. And that's a wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and hit stop broadcast.
See ya.
Bajoom.